Here we go. The weekend is ending and a new week is starting, and it'll be a tale of 2 weeks. The first half will be nice and dry, low humidity and sunshine and reasonable temperatures. And the end of the week, it'll be heat, humidity, and a steam bath. And we will have that. We'll talk about some severe thunderstorms that are moving through New England right now and much more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which you can support if you shop on Amazon. And we hope you do. Shop using our referral link to get you there. And whatever you buy, Amazon sends us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. And it doesn't cost you 1 cent out of your own pocket. It keeps the show, it keeps the live stream commercial free, which I know everybody enjoys that. So support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast by shopping on Amazon. And if you need a weather station, why not Tempest by WeatherFlow? Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is on the descriptor of this podcast. Use that coupon code Joe Rayo, summer 2025, because if you do, you will get
10 big percent off.
That's right. Oh, it's been a reasonable weekend here, though, weather-wise, here in North Georgia. I've barely been getting to 84 or 5 during the day. Right now it's 82. We had a downpour around midday. Yesterday we had some downpours in the late afternoon. It just has not been that hot here in the mountains this month, and I'm very happy about that.
Well, it turned out to be a day where we had a lot more humidity than yesterday here in the tri state area, and we've been on watch for thunderstorms, although they have been few and far between. Most of the activity, and there's a severe thunderstorm watch posted, but it's not locally here in the Hudson Valley or New York or Long Island area. It's mostly east and north of here across Connecticut, and that is where most of the activity has been occurring to the north of here and to the east of here. The heavy duty storms. There have been a few localized showers and thunderstorms in parts of the immediate tri, but again, they're few and far between. And the best thing I could say, in spite of the fact that many will not see a thunderstorm tonight, is that we will see a significant decline in the humidity. And it looks like, Joe, the next few days are going to be just great. Low humidity, warm, and lots of sunshine.
Yeah, I basically you could just split the week in half. At least through noon Wednesday, the humidity levels will be very reasonable and it'll be nice. And then the second half of the work week, we're going to start to see the humidity climb. I was just looking at some of the forecast temperatures for Friday, Joe. No one's got on the digital forecast map, which, you know what, I can bring that up. Just give me a second here. This is for Friday now. And just a moment as I put it up on the screen for everybody to see. Now, no 100-degree readings, but they've got 99s in quite a few places. Like, I don't know what that station is, the 99 that's on the northern edge of New York City. And in northeastern New Jersey, I'm guessing that's Teterboro, a 99 there. So it's middle to upper 90s by the time we get to Friday.
It does look like we're going to finish out the week on a hot note, but it also looks like another weather front will be dropping on down from the north, although the one that will be coming our way for the weekend will not be as potent as what we're going to be looking at for what we're looking at right now, and so the effects will not be as dramatic, but it will be putting a bit of a dent in the temperature and the humidity as we move into Saturday and Sunday of next weekend. But the peak will be right ahead of that cold front, as you just pointed out, Joe, with many spots locally reaching into the 90s. It's going to be a hot one.
Yep, indeed. Probably not much rain either this whole week.
It does look dry. It does look like we're not going to be seeing much in the way of precipitation. It looks like our really best chance of getting any kind of significant precipitation locally was going to come our way today. But again, many spots are not going to see that. We'll show you on the radar in just a very few moments what we mean by that.
Well, because you know what? We have radars tonight, which is very exciting. So
Yeah.
we're going to take a look at that. In the meantime, welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board. It's good to see you all here. Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. We're off on Fridays and Saturdays unless there's a storm going, in which case we'd let you know about it. And if you want to make sure you find out that we're going to have an extra show, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, by all means, hit the like button. So we got some severe thunderstorm watches up, as you say, covering Massachusetts, most all of Massachusetts except the western two counties, all of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the coastal waters that surround Connecticut and Rhode Island as well. Because the way everything's formed today, it's really been about New England with respect to thunderstorms. Elsewhere, we can see that the extreme heat warnings, which used to be the excessive heat warnings, now it's extreme heat warnings. It's the same thing, covering much of Kansas and Missouri, eastern Arkansas, western Tennessee, and northwest Mississippi. A lot of heat advisories up and down the Mississippi River Valley and also into the Central Plains. We have flash flood watches up from Missouri eastward through central and southern Illinois, central and southern Indiana, southern Ohio into West Virginia, eastern Kentucky. There's a severe thunderstorm watch in um, southern Indiana and southern Illinois at the moment. So busy there. We have a severe thunderstorm watch in eastern Montana and western North Dakota. And I guess that yellow that's an odd tornado. Yeah, that's a tornado watch. It's almost a perfectly square box that they've drawn here. You don't see that too often in south central South Dakota and north central Nebraska. So there you go. And here's what's going on. If you look at the satellite loop, you can see the lightning strikes. I just gave it a quick refresh here. And you see the lightning strikes going on in New England with a line of storms, which right now have just about reached Boston, down through central and eastern Connecticut. We have some storms going on in southeast Ohio and into West Virginia. Not a whole lot across the Gulf states, a few widely scattered thunderstorms, and they've already passed their peak and disappearing. Same for Florida, pretty quiet. Scattered storms in the parts of the Southwest, in New Mexico and into southern Colorado. And we're also seeing some streaks of lightning strikes across Montana and into the Dakotas. And Mr. Rayo can now show you what's going on some of the local radars at the moment. Let's
Okay, we will. We're going to do
do
that
that.
right now, Joe.
There you
Yeah,
go.
we're all set and ready here, and we'll show you first off the New York radar out of Upton, eastern Long Island, and you can see, as Joe just mentioned, that a lot of the activity, as I mentioned also, occurring to the north and east of the immediate tri-state area. Here's this band of showers and embedded thunderstorms, which has moved across central and eastern sections of Connecticut, and also across into western sections of Massachusetts, then dropping into Connecticut. This, again, is where the severe thunderstorm watch was positioned, and the Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center, did a fairly good job in doing that. In fact, the western end of that severe thunderstorm watch runs immediately right down the borderline between New York and Connecticut and Massachusetts. That's where the western end is. If you cross over into New York State, southeastern and eastern New York, no watch posted. And again, it doesn't look like very much activity taking place. It all was taking place, as Joe said, up in New England. You can see that in New York, in the New York area, there is a little shower activity that is working its way through northwestern New Jersey. There's another little spot here that's moving toward northwest New Jersey and into a portion of Orange County, but that's kind of petering out. So if you're looking for the threat or risk of shower and thunderstorm activity, let's say where I am in Putnam County or Westchester, Rockland County, or Dutchess County, the odds are looking rather low right now. All of the activity, again, moving off to the north and east of the immediate New York City metropolitan area. In fact, if we take a look here at the Albany radar, you can see that area that I just mentioned that actually was a stubby line of shower and thunderstorm activity position south and southeast of Albany on the loop here, moving again through parts of the Berkshires, western Massachusetts, and then dropping on down into northern and eastern sections of Connecticut. But you can see back here to the west and to the north, nothing much to write home about. The reason for that is that the air is drier and cooler as well. In fact, Buffalo right now is 59 degrees, and that cooler air is headed in our direction. And again, we're going to be going into a flow, a lovely north-northwest westerly flow of air, delivering some very nice weather to our area as we move into the overnight hours tonight and on into the day on Monday. I want to move over to West Virginia, where you can see that there are bands of showers and thunderstorms moving across from northwestern Virginia, West Virginia, I should say, into central West Virginia, also northern and eastern Kentucky, and southern sections of Ohio as well. And again, some of this activity is locally heavy, locally strong, but now that we're moving into the evening hours, a lot of this activity is also beginning to fade somewhat in intensity, and we'll probably continue to see that as we move on into the overnight hours tonight. Any other spot that you might want to go
No,
to?
that's really about the only place where there's some action. I do want to come back to this satellite loop because I just, I noticed something really interesting. If you look out in the Atlantic, Joe, in the Southwest Atlantic, there's an upper low that's sitting east of the Bahamas. And it's kind of strange. First of all, if you could complete the clouds all the way around, it looks like almost a perfect circle with clouds on the edge of the upper low circulating around. It looks like a horseshoe that's sitting out there. It's a cold core system. It's not something that's becoming going to become a tropical depression or a tropical storm. When they start out cold core, it takes a long time for them to warm up, and sometimes uh, they do warm up and become warm core systems. But I just thought, it does look kind of weird out there.
It does. It does. It looks like three quarters of a circle.
Yeah, it
And
does.
yeah, but as we can see on the satellite and also overlaying the radar loop, there isn't really much to go on. Although there is, I do notice convection-wise, there's a couple little spots here lighting up in the northwest quadrant of this semicircular area over the Atlantic. But again, it's at the moment nothing right. I don't think the Hurricane Center has anything to talk
No,
about in this area.
not
It's
really. Not
no.
really. They got something way out that they said's gonna not gonna develop because conditions are gonna be unfavorable. Actually, if you look at it's a little hard to see on this shot, but the higher cloud tops are moving from west to east across the Caribbean at like 40 to 50 miles an hour. I mean, there's so much shear there. So at least for now, nothing much is going to develop. It should point out though at 7:51 p.m. Eastern time, if you look over Illinois and Indiana, there's an east-west line of thunderstorms that's developing, and the WPC was talking about the fact that this was going to be an area of potential serious flash flooding because of the way the thunderstorms are forming, and that there could be some training going on, or there will be some training going on. And they were talking about 3 to 4 inch rain amounts per hour, and also the possibility that there could be as much as 8 inches of rain in some places. And you can see it here on the wider radar view. There's actually a tornado warning that's just popped up near Louisville. They had a severe thunderstorm warning there, and now a tornado warning has popped up right near Louisville itself in Kentucky. In eastern Kentucky, you've got the green boxes with flash flood warnings. The yellow boxes in Illinois and Indiana are severe thunderstorm warnings. So this is going to be an issue for the next bunch of hours and into the nighttime hours. You see, there's scattered stuff across, I should say, not scattered stuff, but patchy stuff across Montana and into the Dakotas, and also some patchy showers and some thunderstorms in Colorado and New Mexico and back into Arizona. We also have a little bit of moisture in the Pacific Northwest, which has been quiet for a while. Some light rain in southern Washington and northern Oregon. I don't even know how much of that is actually reaching the ground, but it is there. Storm Prediction Center has three slight risk areas. Obviously, the slight risk in New England, the western part of that goes into northeastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey and the Hudson Valley is done. The New York State side is done. We also have a slight risk in that zone from Illinois and Indiana, southeast into Kentucky and West Virginia, and that's playing itself out the way we just explained on the radars. And a slight risk up in from Nebraska to North Dakota and then west into the great state of Montana. And we look at the tornado risk. It is 2 to 5% in the Dakotas and Nebraska, and a 2% tornado risk from Illinois southeast into northern Kentucky. And we have an isolated tornado, a tornado warning over Louisville again as of 7:53 p.m. Eastern time, and a 2% risk in New England with those storms. You always could have something that could spin up, but those are going to be done before too long as this weather front pushes on through. And in next couple of days, tomorrow, we're looking at slight risk area in Montana, marginal risk from the Carolinas northwestward into Kentucky and Tennessee, including me here in Georgia, and from Nebraska to North Dakota, west into Montana for the second area. Day three, the slight risk moves into Minnesota, a marginal risk in southern Georgia and northern Florida, marginal risk from Montana across the Dakotas and Nebraska, further and extending further east into Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. One thing that is we should note that at least through Friday, there's probably going to be little to no rain.
Right. The next chance for any kind of precipitation in the Northeast of significance will be with a new cold front. But unlike the cold front that is moving through now and has a nice push of dry northwesterly winds, the front that's going to come through on probably Friday night and early Saturday, that front it does have some lower humidity, but not anywhere near the potency of what we're going to see over the next 24 to 48 hours. And it does have a bit of a drop in the temperature, but again, not as strong as what we're going to see for the upcoming weekend. But nonetheless, it is a bit of a relief, and it may come with showers and scattered thunderstorms across parts of the Northeast of Friday night and on into the early part of Saturday. And then we'll see what happens after that. Although it looks like, Joe, the front is going to kind of subside or stall, maybe south of Long Island or central New Jersey, and that may maintain some shower and thunderstorm threat through next Saturday and maybe even on into next Sunday as well. So at this moment, the weekend forecast for next weekend looks a bit on the muddled side, if you will.
WPC has some big rain amounts along the Gulf Coast from Florida west to Louisiana, several inches or more in some places. Inch and a half plus amounts. Now, obviously, for Illinois and Indiana with those thunderstorms and with any of this stuff, you get into something where the storms just sit over you and these forecasts get thrown out the window and you can just start multiplying the forecast by a factor of two or a factor of three, or maybe even a factor of four across North Dakota and Minnesota to northern Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We're seeing up to several inches of rain in the next week. Rain extends across much of southern Canada into southeastern Canada. And also in the Rockies, we're seeing areas of 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter in some areas, not much out in the west. So we'll start with the upper air, I think. And we have this trough that's overhead now. There's an upper low in eastern Quebec / Labrador and a trough that extends back westward to the lakes. That is going to be swinging through, brings down a nice shot of and dry air and brings temperatures back to seasonal levels, maybe even a degree or two below for Tuesday for sure. All this starts coming in later tonight. Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday look dry. And then, of course, the trough's going to pull out, and you got a big ridge of high pressure, and it's going to be centered right over Tennessee and Kentucky by the time we get to Wednesday. So we're kind of on the edge of that Wednesday, but not quite into it. But this area, all in here, is going to be dealing with very hot temperatures for sure. We also have troughing in the west, which is keeping things relatively cool there. Now, the ridge, I mean, it's strong enough. It begins to shift toward the Appalachians come Thursday and Friday. That's when we'll get into the heat. Then it starts to flatten out a little bit going into the weekend, and that's probably going to allow some kind of frontal passage to get down uh, through the Northeast and into the northern Mid-Atlantic states. But it's not going to be able to get much further south than that. As Joe said, it'll stall. And then as we move along into next week, there's a bit more of a trough that comes through along about Monday. And then another trough that drops into Canada along about Wednesday. And then suddenly the ridge shifts westward and builds back in Texas and Colorado. So the heat is going to shift into the plains for next week. And we're going to be in a better place because there's more troughing here in the east, which is good. And then ultimately, if the European is right, the upper high migrates even further west over time. So that'll be interesting to see if we get into a troughing position as we go into the month of August. So is it going to get hot for a couple of days? Yes. Is it going to get humid and steamy again for a couple of days? Yes. Does it go much beyond that? Well, not really. At least the extreme part of it won't go. It looks like a couple of, Friday looks like to be the really hot day this week. And we don't want to underscore the fact that uh, we've got 3 days coming up that are well deserved, considering what we've been going through with the way the humidity has been, with dew points in the 70s for almost 11 days in a row. Here's the front for tonight on the European. You see the storms in the Ohio Valley. High pressure in eastern Canada kind of holds firm. We get some storminess developing in parts of the southeast during the afternoon and evening hours for the first part of this week. And then the high goes out. We heat up. Here comes a little backdoor front for Friday and Friday night, maybe some rumbles of thunder. And as you said, that front's going to kind of linger around. So Europeans developing some thunderstorms on Saturday, and then again on Sunday. And then after Monday, even on Monday, still having some storms around, a little stronger push into Tuesday. Maybe this next high that comes down for the middle part of next week brings another shot of drier air. But as far as anything major is concerned, there isn't a whole lot happening.
Well, the Climate Prediction Center on Friday, and we were not here, of course, on Friday, but they did issue some key messages for what they were billing or headlining as a mid to late July heat wave, extreme heat that will cover mainly the central part of the nation, where we're talking about. And this is for the period from, mid to late July for much of next week, for Missouri, for example, and much of Kansas, Oklahoma, northeastern Texas, Arkansas, northern sections of Louisiana, northern sections of Mississippi, western Tennessee, southern sections of Illinois, a high confidence in heat reaching levels that would affect anyone without effective cooling and or adequate hydration. Long duration heat, long duration heat waves that last multiple days in a row with little to no overnight relief, high levels of humidity, posing a very large dangerous conditions. They have, in fact, in the areas that I mentioned, Joe, blotted out on the map, extreme heat risk, more areas, major heat risk. Now, as we mentioned, here in the Northeast, we will be seeing later on this week temperatures at or above 90. They're only indicating moderate heat risk there. And for places like the northern part of New York State and portions of northern New England, just a minor risk of heat concerns. So the big news this week will be the heat, but mainly in the central part of the nation, not so much so here in the Northeast because we'll only get a small part of that, and that won't come our way until later in the week. Also, you mentioned about, heavy rainfall. And I should have mentioned at the start of the show that parts of central and southern New Jersey this morning picked up from localized heavy shower and thunderstorm activity. Some places picked up as much as 3 to 4, even 5 inches of rain. And interestingly, I was up at 4 a.m., checked the radar. The radar showed that there was precipitation over my house, but there was nothing falling. It wasn't reaching the ground. But to the south of me, oh boy, those showers and storms are really doing a number. Lots of heavy downpours and flooding conditions, again, over portions of central and southern New Jersey. Same places, in fact, that received some similar heavy rainfall amounts just a few days ago.
And I put up the dew point map for 4 p.m. tomorrow with New York City's dew point at 51, Philadelphia's dew point at 60, Atlantic City at 58, Baltimore at 59, Washington, D.C. at 61. In the Hudson Valley, we're looking at dew points at Poughkeepsie at 51. You go up further north into the Catskills, we're talking dew points in the 40s, 49 dew point at Albany, 51 at Boston. I mean, this is just really beautiful air that's coming down. And then on Tuesday, this is for Tuesday, that's 8 a.m. Let's go a little bit into the day side. Again, dew points mostly in the low and mid 50s. We haven't seen back-to-back low and mid 50s dew point days in a while. And now you can make them back. It was a little higher on Wednesday, but we're still seeing most dew. And sometimes the models like to rush the humidity back too quickly when you've got a dry air mass. They sometimes tend to hold on a little bit longer than advertised. Dew points in the upper 50s to around 60, which is okay. But then Thursday we're in the upper 60s, and then by Friday we've got dew points back in the low and middle 70s. And you're going to couple that with temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. It's going to feel horrible.
Yeah,
Horrible.
it's not going to be good. Too
So, you know
bad.
what?
And it looks
Just,
like as we move into August, it looks like the ridge, the high pressure ridge, is going to be actually shifting back to the west. And that
yes.
again places most of the extreme heat in the nation's midsection. Not so much so for here in the Northeast, although we will probably get some significantly warm weather. But the real heat looks like it's going to be shifting and building over in the central part of the nation as we make the transition from July into August. So that, unfortunately, I know Ms. Spallerite, for example, has been commenting both on my Facebook page and also here on the chat board about bad news for everybody, including pets and animals. Everybody is going to be suffering, unfortunately, in the central part of the nation with this extreme heat. That will be the big story, the big news weather-wise over the course of the next 1 to 2 weeks.
Well, we're halfway through the summer, so relatively speaking. So that's good. Who's got Briller Jeopardy tonight?
I've got it, and
Okay.
it's a new category, a different thing than what we've been talking about high temperatures in the month of July. This is a bit of a change, and let me just bring the questions up here, and we'll commence on those. And here we go. Again, according to Scott, we're starting a new category on Briller Jeopardy in the following 5 cities. How many 90-degree days do they average from June 1st through August 31st? How many 90-degree days do they
From
average?
June 1st to August 31st?
Correct.
Okay.
So basically, for June, July, and August, how many days in the 90s do they average at the following 5 cities? And we'll start with Hotlanta. How many days in the June through August period does the temperature, does the thermometer, does the mercury reach
Okay.
to and
So
above 90?
so we're talking 92 days. The average high in Atlanta in the summer at its peak, I think, is like 90 or 91. So of 92 days, oh, God, and June's kind of funny. I will say in New York City, it's like I'll say I'll say 51.
That's a damn pretty good guess, all things considered, Joe, but it's a little bit on the high side.
It is on the high side. Yeah, I didn't want to go too high. Um,
Yeah, you think about this question. If there's going to be any 90-degree days, plentiful, it's going to probably be in July. June, you may have a month, let's say that it starts off slowly and then really heats up later in the month, and then in August. Remember now, by the time we get to mid-August, we're already almost about 2 months past the solstice. Sun is starting to really go down now, and the days are beginning to really
yeah.
shorten up later on in the month. So August may start off hot, but not necessarily finish on a hot note. So,
Well, we have a couple of guesses here, like Bobby Livingsworth and Mark D42 saying 41.
well, Matthew Warman says 41, and that puts him in snake country, believe it or not.
All right, Rothmansky's at 42.
Still a tad too warm. So, what does
Okay,
that mean?
so we're looking for a 40, guys, obviously. Seeing if any.
Felix 33 came close to with
So
39.
William Uber in you know comes up with 40.
And there you go. William Uber for you. Ding ding. Now, second city is Boston.
Boston. Okay, New York City is like, what is it, 17 or 19? I'll say for Boston, I'll say 15.
A touch too high, Joe, but a good guess.
Okay. Rothmansky's higher than me, so I had a better guess. Miss Fowlerite at 12, Tommy Clams at 14, Frank R at 11, Howard A at 12, Maggie P at 12, Vincent Croce at 13. Any of these ring a bell?
Well, Vincent Croce and William Uber, 13.
13.
13, which is a hell of a lot nicer than the 40 in Atlanta. However, let's take a look at another place. How about Austin, Texas?
Oh, good God. Uh, Austin. Hmm. Atlanta's 51. There's 92 days. I'll say, hmm. I'll say 69.
That's way too low.
Way too low. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, the highest it can be is 92. So 69 is way too low. As Joe said, way too low. So William Uber's gone to 79 and
that's
Miss Fowlerite at 79. Still
well,
too low?
79 is a much better guess than yours, Joe, but still a tad too low.
Well, CWTR Sharks at 83 and Vincent
That
Croce's at 81.
Well, how about Harold Olson? He hit it right on the nose with 82.
82.
Wow, wow. I thank God I don't live in Austin. Would not like it there. How about Charlotte, North Carolina?
Charlotte. All right. Well, Atlanta's at 51. So I got to imagine it's got to be, that was my guess was 51 and it was in the 40s. So I'll say 45.
That's a tad too high, Joe, but it was a good guess.
Okay. Um, Trying to see if anybody here. Tommy Clams at 42.
We can stop
Uh,
right there.
okay,
42.
42. Tommy Clams, 42.
Last one of the five is Chicago.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
just to remind you, Boston was 13,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned New York. New York is 17.
All
So what
right.
would Chicago be?
I'm going to say, they got the lake too. So, there's that. I'll say, I'll say 18.
Where's the bell? Oh, there it is, right there.
Oh, I got
Forgot where I
18?
put the forgot where I put the bell. 18.
18. Whoa, I finally got one. All right. And
And
we
here's
have
the bonus.
the
We do
bonus.
have, we do have a bonus. What was the highest temperature ever recorded in Nantucket or on Nantucket Island or at Nantucket?
Hmm. Wonder if it ever hit 100 there. I don't, oh, Nantucket. I'll say 98.
Well, let me tell you first off, it's my birthday, August 2nd, 1975. I remember this so well, and it was a Saturday. In fact, they still refer to it in some weather annals in New England as, quote, hot Saturday. It was a frying pan across all of New England. And the temperature you mentioned, Joe, not quite high enough for Nantucket.
All right. Well, Dennis Cassius said a buck one. Rothmansky's at a buck two.
Well, the Dennis and Rothmansky are both, and Tom Clams, you're all in triple digits, and you're correct in assuming that, but you're a little bit on the high side
Well,
with
Cardillo's at 100.
and there you go.
Well, I should have went with
100
my
degrees.
guess. It just said my original idea just said 100.
And I totally forgot, and I'm sorry about this, Scott. I was going to look up because I believe on this day, August 2nd, 1975, the hottest temperature ever recorded at Mount Washington. And I think it was 70 up there, but I'm not sure. But I do believe that the hottest temperature at Mount Washington was also on the same day. I didn't have a chance to look it up because I was busy with Mrs. Rayo's German Fest this weekend, so I
Uh,
did not have a chance to do that. But I do remember that day. It was a very, very hot, exceedingly hot day. And our good friend Dennis is starting on his trip up to Vermont tomorrow for the Stellafane weekend in Springfield, Vermont next weekend. And this exceedingly hot day, August 2nd, 1975, was exactly 1 week from Stellafane 1975. I remember thinking to myself, because I was up at Stellafane the following week, I was saying, oh, please, because I was camping that weekend in August of 75. And I said, please, please don't let it be this way next weekend. And it wasn't. In fact, it turned out to be a gloriously dry, pleasantly low humidity weekend. And while I cannot promise that it's going to be gloriously cool and dry next weekend up in Vermont, it will be better than what we're going to be experiencing toward the end of the week. So, Dennis, if you're listening or watching, I know that you are. Uh, it's going to be hot probably Thursday and especially so Friday, but things will get better, you know, up in central or southern Vermont next weekend. At least the humidity and the temperatures will be heading on down a bit.
by the
So,
way,
but anyway, that's
I'm
the
playing
story there.
I'm playing with the emojis here on Zoom. That's very exciting. Except that I only can see I send them to myself apparently. I can't get you. You have to send your own emojis over you. So um, see, this is what happens when you start behaving like a 5-year-old. So, oh, and I like this option too. It says on the reaction is this is recognize hand gestures, and I'm just thinking, well, as long as you wave with your entire hand, you know, that's probably the best gesture.
Okay.
You don't want to play with the emojis?
No,
You know?
in fact, I left my garage door open upstairs and I just remembered I did that and I better
Oh,
close it.
well, you better run and close it, and we're going to close the show then. All right. I see a lot of emojis on the chat board, so thank you for those. And we'll be back here tomorrow night at the usual time, 7:35 p.m. Eastern. Again, hope you all had a great weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I
Night,
will see
night.
you tomorrow. Good night, folks.